Good afternoon, everyone. James Hicks here from Hicks New Media and Infotainment News. Welcome to another episode of Perspectives in Focus. And I can honestly say the intro to this whole series, Perspectives in Focus, really matches my guest today. Phil Pelucha is the founding partner and CEO of an organization called Billionaires and Boxers. We're going to talk about that name because I love that name and I want to find out how he came up with that. But he and his organization really have the goal of empowering 1 billion entrepreneurs globally, right? The idea is to strive to guide all of their clients to be, quote unquote, influencer status as it relates to their particular niche, becoming the go-to brand for the services that they offer, while still empowering them to spend more time doing what it is that they do best. That's an intriguing concept, and I really want to spend some time in a few moments dissecting this whole idea and sharing kind of the good work that Phil and his organization are doing. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome Phil Pelucha. Phil, how you doing, sir?
I'm very good. Thanks so much for having me. I love the intro. I'm blushing here.
Thank you. Well, I got to bring you on properly. Set the stage right for the man that I have, for the Billionaires and Boxers CEO. So I have to make sure
it's
to
a
bring you
pleasure
on
to be here. Thank you.
So tell everyone, first of all, who you are. And actually, before you go into that, I want to first thank you again for the time and thank you for being flexible with the rescheduling. It's been a little hectic with a lot of things going on this side of the globe, and
I'd noticed.
There's a couple of things happening in the United States right now, and I say that specifically because you are in South Africa, correct?
I'm actually currently stuck in the UK. So I'm supposed to be in South Africa this time of year, not least of all because it's warmer down there.
Yeah.
I'm freezing my butt off just outside Liverpool in the UK at the moment.
Awesome. Tell the folks again who you are and kind of your origin, your start from an entrepreneur's perspective, and then if you can start delving deeper into who and what Billionaires and Boxers really is.
Yeah, of course. So I tell you what I'll do. I'll give you a bit of a snapshot as to what Billionaires in Boxers really is, and then I'll kind of tell you where it came from because it started much earlier than even business, to be honest. It started in childhood. So I'll explain. Billionaires in Boxers is essentially an authority building broadcast network. So what I mean by that is there are lots of people who are recognized as influencers at the top of each niche, at the top of each industry, that maybe necessarily shouldn't really be there. They're there because they're very good at ClickFunnels, or they're there because they wrote a book about it first. And actually, there's a lot of really hardworking, talented entrepreneurs out there who should be heard from. They should be an authority in their industry. People can really gain from their words of wisdom, their lessons learned through good and bad. But they're so busy dealing with the day-to-day running of their business that actually even focusing on growth can sometimes be a challenge, let alone on sort of projecting that out onto the industry. So as an entrepreneur, we're very inward focused, aren't we? We're looking at our own business. How can we improve it? What can we do? Now, my opinion, my perception, this is what happened with me. Subsequently why I sort of got dragged into coaching was that I became known as an authority in several sectors using a very simple formula. And that formula was network my way to the top, essentially. Like if I wanted to get booked at more keynote speaking events, then I knew what I needed to do was raise my vibration so I was at the same level as those people, and then go and network with the people who were keynote speaking at the industry events that I wanted to be at, network with the people who organize those events. Now, for me, podcasting became a very sort of awesome vehicle for that about 10 years ago. So I've been podcasting for over 10 years, over 10,000 hours worth of podcasting. Wow. And a lot of it is just as a vehicle to network. So take that example I just gave about speaking at an event. I would invite the event organizer onto my podcast to sell tickets to my audience to come and talk about what's going on with the event, what it is they're trying to do, why it is they're trying to speak to this audience. And then I'm not going to ask them for anything. I'm not going to sell them anything. But 9 times out of 10, when it resonates, something will follow along the lines of, hey, we're still looking for speakers, or I think it'd be great if you could come and do a presentation on X, or hey, Phil, what do you think about doing like a 45-minute workshop and we'll teach people this? Suddenly, I'm now at the top industry event speaking to a room full of what was last week my peers, sometimes maybe even my competitors. And I always say this, it's very difficult for people to differentiate between you having the best podcast at what you do or being a top speaker at what you do and you being the best at what you do. It's very difficult for people to differentiate the two.
Like that, yeah.
So if you own a marketing agency and you just so happen to have the number one marketing agency podcast, everyone's just going to instantly assume that you are the number one marketing agency that they should be working with. So it all comes down to kind of really helping my clients to connect to that essence of, fall back in love with their business. What is it about it that you fell in love with? Who is it you want to help and why? What's that thing that's going to get you out of bed that's so much more important than money? And then build from there in terms of business is a team sport. So if you network with the right people and you're adding the right people to your team, both internally and externally, it's always going to be a recipe for success.
So let me ask you, when you talk about your clients, who is that person that you're talking to, or is it a group of persons, right? Is it someone specifically in necessarily that leadership role? Is it necessarily someone in a sales focused role? Who is that go-to segment or focus that you go to and build your business off of?
So for me, traditionally, it's executive and business leaders. It's typically people who are 3 to 5 years into their journey, doing, I don't know, anywhere between 1 and 5 million US per year, but they've reached the ceiling. And now they're ready to go from being a brand who are very good at what they do to being the go-to brand for what they do. And anybody who's ever worked in marketing or branding will tell you it's far easier to grow a personal brand than it is to grow a business brand.
That is true.
And if you want an example of that, just head over to Twitter right now and Google Virgin Atlantic, and Virgin Media. Count how many followers they have, and I guarantee it's about a third of what Sir Richard Branson will have. Because it's much easier to build a personal brand than it is a business brand. So if you have a reputation for what you do, but now it's more, you're ready to be recognized as that authority and that influencer, it's really about facilitating the steps to help you achieve that. And that's done kind of in 3 stages. Number 1, we connect you with the right kind of people that are going to help your business to thrive. Because if you're still stressing and focusing all of your time on the day-to-day, you're not going to have time to invest on trying to influence anybody, let alone kind of have any impact on your industry. So let's achieve that financial freedom and that comfort. The second part of that is let's start getting you to speak at more events. Let's get the media to recognize you as the thought leader to go to ask questions about particular topics. It's about getting you seen on podcasts and you podcast interviewing other people that really raises your awareness, but also raises your profile with that borrowed credibility piece. And then finally, the third one is about how do you handle it once you get there? What do you do with it? How do you make sure that the success that you're now having continues to be success and it doesn't become, something that you're worried about your reputational damage because your business is now, a nice position, but now has too many customers that want to work with you and you haven't figured out how to do that yet? Or, what is it you're trying to get across at these messages at these events when you're speaking? Who is it you're speaking to? Why is it you're speaking to them? And really drilling down into that.
Let me ask, so with the advent of COVID, right, and the world being locked down, has that goal number 2, right, of going out to specific events and having those types of engagements, because I do better when I'm face-to-face in the same room, right, when I can actually engage with folks, and just that type of a person, and the Zooms and the online seminars takes out a lot of that human element. Are you seeing some fluctuations in terms of how you're dealing with clients or even acquiring new clients in this past 8, 9, 10 months since the world has been where we are today?
It's actually been even better, as you can imagine. I mean, for me, I'm a digital relationship coach. My nickname is the digital business connector. It's what I do, and I enjoy this. And actually, this has provided opportunities for me and my clients alike that just simply didn't exist previously. So a great example would be a few weeks ago, I did four 4 keynote speaking engagements in the space of 36 hours. We did Australia, New Zealand, USA, and the UK,
Okay.
right? I wouldn't even have been able to fly to all of those places to attend the event, let alone the cost that would have cost me to go to those events, the time off that I would have had to have taken just for travel. I mean, those 4 events realistically would have ruled me out for a week and set me back tens of thousands of dollars. Now I did it in between working. I was
Yeah.
able to network afterwards. It's so actually it's presented a lot more opportunities, and a lot of the people who previously you'd speak to and they'd still have that kind of, I like meeting people too, don't get me wrong, I love being in the same room as people, but the people who say, oh, we can't do business unless it's face to face, like it's always how we do our business. We do our business at these networking events and stuff.
Right.
I never understand that attitude, because anything you can do in person, you can do digitally just as well, if not quicker, faster, and in a more efficient way. So we've seen a lot of success during this period. Our clients, more importantly, have seen a lot of success during this period. And it's been a real leveler, because the other thing that's happened here is that people have stopped seeing themselves as American or British or Australian. Like, we are all facing this same global pandemic, and it's almost, I keep calling it the great leveler. People are now looking at each other as if to say, I can do work with the States and I can do work with Canada. And if I want to get a client in Australia, I can, because, previously my notion of, well, you'd have to be able to come into my office and see me. Well, the people down the road come into your office and see you. So you suddenly start to question, why would we have this expensive real estate? Why do we only work with clients in New York because we're in New York?
And I wonder if that's a conscious conversation, right, that you now have to have, right? Just thinking about, you say, and I agree with you about online ability and the online dialogue being straightforward and relatively easy, but it's not intuitive if you're not used to that. So I know you've got the 3 pillars or the 3 tools that you really focus on with Billionaires and Boxers, broadcasting and podcasting, online coaching, and then your overall network. So that online coaching piece, I mean, is that something that you have to, again, consciously tell folks who come from the old school, how to take advantage and utilize tools, how to utilize technology, how to present effectively on camera, on screen, and things like that? Has that been a challenge, really, again, when dealing with some of the old school, more seasoned folks in dealing with this new era?
I'm not even sure it's the old school folks. I mean, we don't deal with a lot of that simply because the people who we choose to work with, I mean, we're in a fortunate position that we're usually oversubscribed. So we tend to cherry pick the people who they just get it, right? They just get it. So I talk about, I don't sell, I introduce. I'll introduce you to what we do, and if that resonates with you, then let's have a conversation about how we could work together. But I'm not going to try and sell it. I'm not going to try and convince it, which I think I understand what you're saying. So which would kind of come into that bit, wouldn't it? Do I have to try and convince people that this online model is the new way to go? Not really, because it's the people who I work best with are the ones who've already realized that, but they want a strategy or a blueprint as to how to actually do it. But one thing that has been a major lesson for us all is that we've been having to teach people how to present online. So podcasting is slightly different because it's just a conversation, right? It's a conversation back and forth. But these live events, it's very different when all you can see on the screen is a big picture of your own face instead of being able to judge the reaction of the audience. You've got no idea, are they laughing at my jokes? Is everybody zoned out? If you put all your cameras on right now, have you all gone and made a cup of tea? Like, I have no idea. And that's difficult. So I actually did a talk for an education conference, virtual education conference, about a week or so ago. And that was one of the main topics that a lot of educators were asking me, both high school, college, and university staff were saying, how do we take our lesson plans and present them digitally? How do we now compete for our students' attention? Whereas if they're sat in class and they get their mobile out or their cell phone out, you can see they're on their phone, but you can't do that behind the screen. So how are you competing for their attention? So that's been an interesting challenge, but one that I've particularly enjoyed.
That's a good point. So, and I guess I asked about that as well, because when you're in front of the room, you're always on. and you know you're on, but it's amped up to a whole nother level again, right? When you think about, because now we're from a digital perspective. And I put
Hmm.
this comment up or this question up from Donna, and
Yes.
she's I know she's in the real estate industry,
Yeah.
right? And looking at finds making phone calls a dead end, right? Again, that's older technology. Would you recommend maybe taking advantage of some digital technology, taking advantage of going out there with the mobile phone and shooting
Mm.
some videos, how to better engage with someone again in the real estate industry? How would you coach
So,
her
well,
up?
I know the real estate industry really well because I'm a trained surveyor. I've spent over a decade in the real estate industry, so it's one that's very close to my heart. So, thank you for the comment on it, and I completely agree. Very, very much so in terms of I use Dub. Actually, you've mentioned Bomb. I use Dub, Dub video, and I send personalized video messages, and I find myself using WhatsApp so much as a business tool, sending
Yep.
audio notes and little quick selfies to people and having that back and forth. But I think what could be really interesting is to combine the technologies that you're using right now. Donna, in particular, this is to you. Combine the technologies that you're using right now, but combine them with a few customer experience exercises. So do a personalized video to, let's say, the people who you're doing listings for right now, or even potential buyers who've sent in an email or shown some interest or whatever it is. Send them just a very quick video talking like a 60 to 90-second thing just to say, I remembered our conversation. I remembered you mentioned this and this. I wanted to ask you, what is it that I can be doing to make this experience better for you at the moment? I know
Mm.
it's a strange time and we're all having to make changes. What changes would make it easier for you to do business with us? How is it that you would like me to work with you?
So
And
actually leverage the climate that we're in right now, and don't use that
yeah.
more as an advantage as opposed to a crutch or something. Okay, I like that.
Well, how many people sit in a boardroom and they say, "How do we reach our customers? What should our adverts say?" It's like,
Yeah.
well, you're talking about how you reach a group of people that aren't represented in that room right now, which to me just seems ludicrous because who's going to know the answers as to how your customers want to be worked with better than your customers? But everybody's sick of these long emails that say, "Hey, fill in this survey, fill this in, fill this in."
Yes.
It's not personal. So, put the person centric back into customer experience, use the video messages to message people out and say, hey, what is it that you would like to say to me? Feel free to either send me a quick video back if you like, send me an audio note, or if you prefer, just drop me a text message and I'd be
Mm.
interested to see. But they will tell you the answers, right? And what's great about that is that you then get to use that as a marketing campaign. So all those people that you sent out those videos to, let's say you take 100 people and you send those videos to, even if you only get 10 to 20 responses, you're going to learn lessons from the patterns and the answers in that. Now do a video back to that 100 again, but it was a marketing purpose to say, hey, remember that video I sent out? Well, here was the feedback that came out. And people said that they really would like some more support around this, this, and this. So here's what I'm doing to make that easier for you. It shows you're listening to your customer. It shows you're agile and adapting to this time. And as a professional, receiving that, I would look at you and say, yeah, this person really has her finger on the money here. This is the person we need to be
Yeah.
doing business with.
And those types of strategies never fade, right? I mean,
No,
those are tried and true from back in the old school days. The old Zig Ziglar. I mean, right? Those things will never fade away in terms of how you
never.
engage, especially when you're a customer facing, customer relationship type of industry and things of that nature. Interesting.
Mm. Very much so. I mean, whilst we're talking about real estate, though, I mean, real estate was actually the reason I started this in the first place because
Okay.
it was for the industry I started this because um, the problem with professional services is you're trying to sell you're trying to sell yourself, right? You're trying to sell your experience, what you can do, your personality, that personal service, your knowledge, all that kind of stuff. And that's quite difficult. I mean, you think about it, like you might buy an online course or a book or a set of cooking pans on a 30-second Instagram post, but you're not going to choose an accountant in the same way. You're not going to choose your real estate broker in the same way either. So you have to do something more to maintain that you're not just doing your job and doing it well. You are authority building and you're building credibility throughout your network as well. And in real estate, we did that through, and it works in every other sector as well. But in real estate, we did it through sharing client stories. So it was share the success stories because You saying, hey, we're really good, you should come and work with us, carries about this much weight. Someone else saying, hey, they're really good, you should go and work with them, carries loads more weight. And they've given you the answers, haven't they? This is somebody who they've already been through this experience. They've been there, done that, they've felt it. And instead of listening to you and having to make the connections and connect the dots themselves, they're listening to a customer who was in the exact same position that they are right now, talking about how great you were and how stress-free you made the process.
Got you.
That person's doing your sales and marketing for you.
Love it. I got to know about the name. I got to know about the name. I've been holding on patiently, and I've got it bolded over here in my notes. Talk to us about Billionaires in Boxers.
So, Billionaires in Boxers is actually a relatively new name, as in within the last 18 months to 2 years, probably about 18 months. So, what had happened was we had a business podcast called the Big Boom Business Podcast, and that got picked up as a radio station. Or by a radio station. So we had our own radio time, which was really cool. And we were presenting on this show, but the show already had its own name, right? So we were no longer the Big Boom guys. We didn't have a name. We were just the business guys from that radio show. And then when we got picked up by a TV network, like we were all the way to, we already had the first 5 or 6 guests planned. We knew the layout of the show. We knew what it was going to feel like and all this kind of stuff. And then somebody said, we don't have a name for the show. And everything I suggested, I kid you not, James, they hated it. Every suggestion I made was just like, no. And then eventually I said Billionaires in Boxers as a joke. I said Billionaires in Boxers because I'm growing my global empire from home and I rarely put on pants. And they were like, that's it. That's got to be the name. Like, I was like, I was joking. And they were like, no, it's really good. So, but what ended up happening, and I really do love this, is that lots of people have really resonated with that name. Like we have different people come to us saying, oh, to me, it means, you're having conversations with really successful people and they're sat in their boxer shorts in their lounge and it's very casual. And I'm like, well that fits. But then there's other people who say things like, oh, it's more like, I thought it was more about like speaking with really successful people about the hustle and fight time of their life. So they're thinking about boxers as in like the sport. And it's like that fits too. So actually I'm learning things about my own brand through other people's opinions and interpretations of it. But it works so well, and everybody started to know us as the Billionaires in Boxers guys, and even being introduced at events as like host of Billionaires in Boxers TV. It stuck. So I did a complete rebrand of all of our businesses, and they all came under the Billionaires in Boxers banner for that very reason.
If nothing else, as you say, it's a conversation piece.
Yeah, very much so.
It's a brand in and of itself. So love that whole aspect.
It's also an interesting one to be asked by some very, very successful guests and some incredible people and some people who I've read their books, done their courses, I've admired for a long time. And for them just to randomly go, are you wearing pants? Like, are you in your boxers? And it's like,
you don't want me to tilt the camera down, right?
Yeah, what kind of online call is this? Like, we're recording, right?
I love it. How is the TV aspect still something that's going on now, or have you kind of transitioned all to completely online?
No, so it's supposed to be happening right now, but we're not in Cape Town to record it because I'm stuck in the UK.
Okay.
So we tried during the summer, we during sort of like the major lockdown of most countries, we tried to do it kind of virtually. But the problem is the editing team are based in Zambia, and I was sending them like 70 gigabyte files in 4K to try and edit, and it was taking them 4 days to download them. And it just wasn't feasible. So it was almost a case of great. We'll carry on doing what we're doing with the podcast, and everybody that was going to be coming on as a guest, we'll do a podcast with instead. And then we'll when we can get together, we'll get together in person and we'll record it there.
That's good stuff. The clients that you're meeting with today, again, what are you've told me your strategies and where you're focused on with them, but I guess what are some of the main challenges that they're approaching you with? So even before you tell them your services, right? Before they find out who you are, or they've just heard about your offering, what are kind of some of the challenges that clients are coming to you specifically with, and they're saying, can you help me do X, Y, and Z?
Yeah, so I guess the top 3 would be people know that they have a good brand, but they're constantly struggling about where new business is coming from and or retention. That's a big one. Is kind of a, how do we reach that next level? Often people come to us and say, can you make me an influencer? When what they actually want is to be famous so that more people can kind of come to their business and spend money.
Yeah.
But my first question is like, who do you want to influence? And it's like, well, no, I just want more customers. It's like, well, that's different. That's not the same thing.
Right.
The second thing I would say is, and this is a big one too, is people feel like they've reached a ceiling. Like they're doing well, but they've hit a ceiling in their business and they can't quite figure out how to get past it. You know, I quite often hear the phrase or something along the lines of, I'm spending too much time dealing with day to day and not enough time building the future. And it's like, okay, that makes a lot of sense too. And then the third and final one is people feeling like they don't get the credibility that they deserve or don't get the attention that they deserve. Typically, let's say this might be somebody 3 to 5 years into an industry, but, you know, compared to some of your competitors, you're still a baby. You know, they've been around for a long, long time. They're the brands that people instantly associate with this, even though that might be a historic thing rather than they're actually the best people for the job. And there's an element of, you know, why is it always them that gets invited to the events? Why is it always them that ends up in the papers commenting about this stuff? Why aren't I in the tabloids? Yeah, and I enjoy those conversations because I'm really good at turning the tables.
Well, so here we go. So I set you up kind of asking you, what is it, the things that potential clients come ask you for?
Yes.
What are give me 3 best practices that you turn around and tell them to do to correct those challenges, correct those issues? What is it that you're offering to them kind of specifically to say, this is how you build your business, this is how you become that influencer, or whatever the case may be?
So the first part is reconnecting with your essence. Now, you could also call that falling back in love with your business, but it's about remembering why you've got there, because often by this point business owners are very inward looking and they're focused on their own business, and it's about falling in love with it again. Stop, you know, I always use the phrase, make more decisions with your heart and less with your head. You know, let your heart make the decision through a feeling and then let your head logically work out how it is you're going to do that, rather than the other way around where you Google something, see it, picture it in your mind, and then try and convince your heart to follow along, because that doesn't work, and you're just going to be somebody that ends up reaching this great financial target, but you're going to be miserable because it's not going to get you to where you need to be. So it's reconnecting with that feeling and falling back in love with your business and who it is you want to help. If you want to be an influencer, who are your people? You know, your vibe finds your tribe. So let's start by raising your vibe, and then we'll go after your tribe. The second point is about being strategic regarding your destination. So where is it that you're trying to get to? Now we can reverse engineer that and say, great, you want to speak at more events? These are the types of people that you need to be networking with. You want to be a best-selling author? We probably better get you in touch with some editors, some authors, and some publishing houses, and this is how we make that happen. Right. Just a little side note on this one. This actually works for every aspect of your life. Like, even if you're a father and you may have had like a deadbeat dad that wasn't that great, so you didn't learn great lessons from them, go and network with 5 or 6 amazing fathers. Make friends with people who are really good fathers and just learn from them. See what they're doing. See what you know, try it on as a feeling. See what they do and think, oh, I like that, but I probably wouldn't handle that situation like that. And learn and immerse yourself in these environments. So that's a big one. That works in every aspect. And then the third one is knowing what to do with it from there. So we kind of call it our media management or our press management or our authority management. And essentially that's okay, people are now starting to listen to what you're saying, but what you don't want to become is just this preachy person that's educating your market all the time, because as great and as valuable as that is, there's no money in educating your market unless they're paying you to educate them. If you're just constantly going out there to talk about it, you're wasting valuable time you could be spending with your family and with your loved ones. So there has to be a trade, and that trade doesn't always have to be financial. It can be experience. You know, I call it Napoleon Hill meets podcasting. It's like learning from these amazing people and giving something back to them, and this whole share thing. But then it's also about having the idea of, okay, well, who do I want as my ideal client? How can I help them? where are they already looking? Let's not reinvent the wheel here. Like some people will be teaching you and selling you courses to teach you how to get 100,000 mailing list so that you can spam them with emails to sell your services, and write a free ebook and then let them download it, but only if they give you their email address, and then we'll spam them until they buy or die. And the reality is that how long is that going to take you? Right? It's not going to be that effective, and it's going to take you a long time and cost a lot of money. Well, let's flip that on its head. If you're already vibing at a certain vibration, if you already have a certain level of credibility and knowledge, why can't I just go and introduce you to two people who already have a mailing list of 50,000 people, and you can not only get an introduction to them, but you could do borrowed credibility too, because you're being introduced from somebody who they already know, like, and trust. Do a collaboration, do a partnership. Hey, dude, listen, I was going to be spending a fortune on paid adverts to generate my own mailing list. Happy to give you 10%, 20% of the value of the deal that comes in from an introduction to your group. Like, why would they say no to that? If you're somebody who can also help their tribe, they're going to get the big kudos points for introducing you, and they're going to make money off your sales as well. So it's a win-win situation for everybody involved. So they're the three big ones. It's that partnership and collaboration. It's finding your vibe, and then it's that building that network around you to build your team, get Champions League ready.
I like that last one. Well, I like them all, but I really like that last one because, again, you don't have to do everything by yourself all the time.
No.
Right, especially if you're in an industry and you're working with folks who you trust, you're working with, again, the team, things of that. Leverage that. There's more power and there's more momentum in many as there is in the one. Right?
Massively.
Especially in customer-facing industries, right? If you can't boil the ocean right by yourself, so get out there with folks who you work with, who you trust, who have that same message. Collaborate with them. I really like that idea of attaching yourself to maybe someone who has maybe that larger distribution of an email list or something like of a mailing list, adding your message into that, and then co-create, co-collaborate, things of that nature.
Well, it's about utilizing what you have, isn't it? And being able to barter and stuff. So I remember when I first started wanting to do more work with North America, at the time I had two large databases. I had the UK and I had Southern Africa. So I went and found people in the US and Canada who wanted to do more work with South Africa and the UK. And we would do a joint piece of content together. They would introduce me to their network and I'd introduce them to mine. And everybody would win from this. So why would I go and reinvent the wheel and trying to start, generating followers out of nothing in North America when I could just link with somebody that I resonate with and we go, I get you, you get me. Let's do something cool together.
I like that. What's next for you? Right. I mean, so you've built this phenomenal organization. You've built this team. You're helping customers, individuals, and businesses, things of that nature.
Yes.
What's next on the horizon for both you individually and Billionaires and Boxers?
So I'll tell you one that's a bit more short term, and then I'll tell you my long term one. Short term, we're about to do our first movie. We've just finished that round of funding, so we're about to, provided we can actually get together at the end of 2021. We're going to be recording our first movie, which is it's very much a behind the scenes look at what happens at these sort of events and festivals. So we're going to be bringing together. We're going to be recording in Africa. We're bringing together some great local African business coaches and personal well-being coaches, combined with some of the biggest and best coaches in the industry worldwide. So it's going to be a really exciting festival of, introducing the best of the world to Africa and the best of Africa to the world. And as one of the next emerging markets, that's going to be, the next 10 years worth of technological advancements are going to be coming out of Africa and India. It's not a bad place to be.
That's not too bad.
So it's going to be good. I'm mega excited about that. We're actually filming at the event itself, and then we're all going away as coaches together on safari for a week afterwards, where we're going to show like the behind the scenes and how we all interact with each other and how we learn from each other, and it's going to be really exciting. So that's the short term one.
So that hits home right now to me personally, because literally next week, me and my wife were supposed to be vacationing, and we're supposed to start in Morocco and then go to Spain and go around. So, I would have been right on the tip. I could have came in. I could have shot some scenes. I could have been on the back of the Jeep with you.
We must do it.
Oh,
We got to do it. So
okay.
so we had to get some funding together for that, and we had to get some partners on board. Thankfully, I kind of did it the other way around to Rhonda Burns, I guess, in terms of she had the story and then went out and found the speakers. For me, I kind of had more speakers than I knew what to do with. In fact, that's where the idea of the movie actually came from. It was originally a joke. I said I wanted to do some live events, and suddenly I had so many people volunteering to say, "Hey, I want to come and be part of that." That I was like, "We've already got like 4 days of event now. Like, how big is this thing going to be?" And it was like, do you know what? It'd be easy if we could just like do the event, but like then make the whole thing into a movie and just help loads of people. And I mentioned it to all the coaches, and every single one went, "Count me in! Like I'm so up for that." And it was like, okay, we've got to do this. So that's pretty amazing. The long-term goal, I mean, you mentioned it at the top of the show. Like my goal is to empower 1 billion entrepreneurs, and given how many billion people there are in the world, that doesn't seem that big a target. But I needed something that was going to be a challenge for me. I needed something that was going to get me out of bed. Now, that does not mean that I personally plan on empowering 1 billion entrepreneurs. That would be awesome, but like it's pretty. I'm not going to do that all by myself.
That's going to take a little bit of time, take a
Yeah,
little
it
effort, but
takes a fair while, right?
Yeah.
So everything we do in terms of broadcasting our message. So whether that's podcasting, live events, webinars, video, TV, radio, whatever it is for us and our clients, my work is to empower the empowerers. My work is to empower those who can then go on to empower other people. So if each business or each coach or each individual who I empower goes on to empower 1 million, then we're going to get there. The other way of looking at it is obviously The Secret movie, which is the most successful personal development movie of all time. That reached 500 million people. So technically, I only need 2 Secret movies to get there.
I like your math. I like that math.
Far easier than me trying to do it one-on-one. That's for sure.
That's true. That's true. The economies of scale and
absolutely.
Let me ask you about becoming a client, right? And how that happens. What's the process? Is it merely going on to the website, billionairesinboxers.com, or how do folks reach out to you if they want to actually take advantage of you and your service?
Billionairesinboxers.com is a great place to start. Definitely. You can hook up a load of conversations there. I also have a very unusual surname, as you can probably see on the screen. If you're listening to this on the podcast, my surname is spelled Pelucha. So if you just Google Phil Pelucha, you will find all of my social media profiles. You're free to reach out to me there. Little bit of a caveat. As I said, we are quite often oversubscribed. So whilst we don't make people jump through unnecessary hoops, there is definitely an element of wanting to kind of get to know you better. You know, make sure that we are the people to help you. I'm a firm believer in if I'm not, I'll tell you, and I'll probably know who is. So it's never a pointless conversation, but I want to work with those that I really resonate with, that I get your message, and I'll get just as much as a kick from your success as you will. And that's kind of it's the lifeblood of what we do is working with people who you resonate with and who you vibe with. So definitely head over to the website, come and have a chat with me. If you're interested in knowing any more about what we do, either on the podcasting services side or indeed on the coaching side, come and have a chat, and we'll have some fun, I'm sure.
That's good stuff. I like the fact that you said, look, I'm not trying to do everything for everyone, and if it works, then we'll do that. So I will leave you. I'll ask one last question. I'm a technologist at heart, so I've got to ask a technology question.
Shoot.
And tell me, what is the most prevalent piece of technology that you use on a day-to-day basis to either manage your personal or your professional life?
Good question. Can I give you 2? Because the one I'm going to give you is the most prevalent, but it's also not that sexy as an answer. Because I work so internationally, WhatsApp is a godsend for me. That is so much of my life happens on WhatsApp. Calendly is another one, because obviously we can send people a link and it puts it into their time zone automatically, and it saves the whole.
Yes.
So are you Eastern time? You're Central, right? Well, I'm here. And then we have like daylight savings time, where I have no idea what time it is for 6 months of the year. Right. So, yeah.
No, that's a good one, because that's how we connected, right? Again, with you being on the other side of the globe. And I was like, I am not going to have a conversation with him at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Exactly.
I'm not going to be ready. And. So that Calendly is a very good one.
So I love those tools. There's another one which is a website called alsoask.com. So the word also and then asked.com. Now, I'll tell you why I like this one so much. This instantly gets rid of, in fact, I'll tell you two reasons I like this. It instantly gets rid of one of the most common things that people say to me as an objective, I guess, as an objection, which is what if I run out of things to say? Like when we're talking about networking with their industry, that's a real fear that people have. It's like, what if I forget? Like, what if I have nothing to say to this person? Or what if I run out of things to say? And it's a genuine fear that people have. It's like, I'm on a podcast, I'm interviewing, and then there's just dead silence because I can't think of anything else to ask somebody. Now, the reason I like Also Asked is it's essentially a reverse search engineering tool. So you can go on there and type in a couple of keywords and a location, and it will tell you the most commonly Googled questions to do with those keywords.
All right. So I'm on the site now because I'm actually going to bookmark this. Let me think about this here.
So if you go on there now and you just type in podcasting, for example.
Hold on. Let's make this a live. Let's make this engaging with everyone.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Because everyone should head to this website. I'm telling you.
So podcasting.
Yeah, you can leave it in the UK or you can stick it in the US if you want, wherever you want. Right. Those are the most commonly asked questions when it comes to podcasting.
Oh, that's great.
Right?
Oh, that's golden right there.
Isn't it just? So this is like a golden SEO thing, okay? Corey, the second one I said was Calendly, my friend. It's an online booking diary thing. Definitely go check it out.
I'll put all three of these in the show notes afterwards. But
this right here,
this is it right here.
Oh my God. Brother, I know it's like gold, isn't it? So this, I mean, you think about this in the two. I said I'd give you two ways of using this, and I will. I'll keep my word. The first way of using that is you now have everything that you need for blog content, for podcasts, for videos, etc. Because it's all right there. And it's extremely keyword and SEO friendly because it's the phrases that people are searching for. The second thing that it's great at, and this is something that I highly recommend, it's something that I did for my search business back in the day, and it helped me to become number one on Google organically, and it really helped my business. We won clients that in reality we probably shouldn't have won. They were really big and should have gone with one of the competitors that employs hundreds, if not thousands of people. But we won because of perception and how credible we looked. And the way that I did that was I would Google the phrases in my industry, okay? And I would go into Also Asked and I'd check them out. And I'd write down, let's say, the 50 top questions to do with my industry. Yeah. And then I would record a 2-minute video of me answering that question and then put it on my website for the backlinks. So Google was constantly recommending my videos and my website every time people were asking these questions. And it just took off, and it was a gift.
I don't know why it's taken. I haven't heard about this, but look, again, I told you behind the scenes before we even went live. This was selfish. This is all for me. The folks that are watching and listening afterwards, that's just the extra cherry on the top, right? So I've been absorbing all of this, and that right there is golden. You've lost my attention now. I'm all.
Oh, you're over there.
I'm all on Also Ask right now, and going to rewrite my entire last few blog posts and make sure.
Do you want to know the coolest thing? I must know about 50 of those tools that I use on a daily basis with my clients. Like, this is how you find this, and this is how you get this, and that is a powerful one there, and it's free to use, and it's very easy. And what's great is, if let's say you're trying to do more work remotely, let's say you want to do more work with Australia, you get to go and change that setting.
That's what I'm saying about that, right? Again, let me talk in your language, right? Let me talk as opposed to the American coming in only talking, from my spiel and my level. But I can change that demographic. I can change that.
Well, it's even being able to say things, and it's based off data, right? Because the whole reason it's there is because the amount of times it's been searched. So you can go to the Australian market and say, this is a question that I know is asked here a lot that in comparison to the States really isn't, and my answer is this. And then instantly they've gone, he knows the answer to the question, he knows that we're asking the question, and he knows that it's different from the US. Like, tick, tick, tick.
I love that. And that is, there we go right there, ladies and gentlemen. That is perfect. So hopefully everyone received some information that was helpful and useful. Bill, I'm glad we finally got together.
Me
I
too,
mean,
brother.
everything that you have said, I think resonates with me from an entrepreneur's perspective, but again, also from someone who spends a lot of time in front of folks, in front of the camera, having conversations, talking about business, IT, whatever the case may be, right? And just some of the tools that you recommend and have talked about how you approach having those
Mm,
conversations, I think resonated with myself and hopefully with the other folks that are watching, listening, and who will eventually tune in and take advantage of this also ask.com and some of these tools that you recommend.
yeah, for sure.
You've mentioned the website. Is there specifically like any other social media presences that folks can get in contact with you in terms of like a Twitter
Yeah,
or
LinkedIn, Twitter,
okay.
Instagram, it's all under my name, so you'll find me really nice and easily. If you a little bit of a confession, hopefully the marketing team aren't watching this. I only actually do the Twitter and the LinkedIn account myself. The rest of them somebody else does. So if you want to talk to me, definitely head over to LinkedIn or Twitter. Look, this is my favorite thing to talk about. Like, I love the work that we do, and sometimes, you can become a client and I can help you unlock all of those things yourself. Other times, like, you just might need one little bit of those tools, like that tiny little cog in a machine. And if something like this or a conversation like that really helps open that up for you, then I'm delighted.
I love it. I appreciate that, man. And I will again make sure that the right contact information is in the show notes for folks to reference as they move forward. Phil, with that being said, man, I can say it again, but thank you very much for your time, for your information. I look forward to talking to you again in the future. And next time you're shooting a movie, let me know, man.
For sure, brother.
I can find a way to get over there, right?
Mate, if we're ever allowed to travel again, I'll let you know, because that's at the minute that's my biggest headache. We're not even supposed to be doing it till the end of 2021, but at this point, we're as a nation, we've just headed back into our second national
Yeah,
lockdown.
yeah.
Um, a lot of the recording will be done in South Africa, which is where I spend a lot of time working and doing my TV stuff, and it's where my wife's from. And right now, the UK is on a banned list from South Africa, so we're not allowed back at the moment. So it's what a crazy time we're living in. But you know what? There are lots and lots of opportunities out there. Um, if you just kind of look for them. I'm not saying that you have to take advantage of kind of all the negative stuff, but you've got two choices, haven't you? You can either just watch the news 24 hours a day
Mhm.
and focus on how terrible everything is and what a mess the world is, or you can realize that in every single recession, in every global time of crisis, there are winners and there are losers. And the main difference is the losers are sat there saying, "Isn't it awful?" And the winners are saying, "How do we move forward?" Because there still has to be a future after this. So what can we do to use this time to reposition ourselves?
And that is the perspective and focus. Bill, thank you very much, sir. Have a great day. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me.